evening, and welcome to this January Parish Council meeting. I'd like to wish you all a very happy New Year to start off with. And before we start, I'd like to thank my Vice Chairman for taking the November meeting in my absence. I think we have one apology for absence from Councillor Underhill.
Councillor Underhill and County Councillor Collar.
Okay, that's fine. Any declarations of interest? No? Okay, so we'll then consider the Parish Council meeting, the aforementioned meeting in November. We will go through, but in the absence of anything else, could I just have a proposer on those minutes before we go? Yeah. All in? Everybody happy with them?
Yeah.
Good. And likewise, as far as the planning committee meeting, we'll just note those.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's fine. So going through the minutes of the meeting on the 8th of November, is there anything up on the first page that anybody would like to comment on?
No, at the very bottom is Councillor Innes's report with regard to the River Dower, and he said update us tonight. It's not on the agenda, so...
It is.
Oh, it is? I've missed it then. I've looked. Sorry, I read it too quickly. Sorry,
Yeah,
Andrew.
10.
Right.
Anything
Right,
else?
yes.
Anybody else?
Yes,
Just a minute.
thank you. Great, fine.
I just have one item under 99, item 91. Councillor Atkins have been making inquiries about proposed events in the local area. Okay?
Yep.
Councillor Atkins have been making inquiries about proposed events in the local area for the coronation. No definite information at the moment. Is there anything on that?
No, they're still waiting.
For everybody else to put their
I
votes.
I make note of the River Primary fate date, which is in June.
Yeah.
So we don't. That's a Friday anyway.
I think the if I remember.
Temple you'll have got something round about the 3rd, but I can't remember what it is.
Well,
I guess every village will do something around that weekend.
yeah.
Or we just chat about that.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, our if I remember correctly, I think our AGM will be on the Tuesday the 9th.
Well, I'd actually like to discuss that on the 13th.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's do that then, because there's also the possibility of a bank holiday, isn't there? Which may be the 9th. That seems to be the Monday the 9th.
8th.
Monday the 8th, I beg your pardon. Okay, yes, so we'll defer that one until the 13B. Great. Okay, that's page 1. Page 2, anything there, anybody? It's going to be covered
I'll
elsewhere.
be giving a report,
Yes.
correct, yes. Should cover everything there.
And page 3?
The only thing, and I think the phone box is not on the...
Yes, it is.
It is?
Well, I have news.
Oh, it is on here anyway. Yeah, you say on the agenda.
Yeah.
I've obviously read it.
Weather permitting, they can start on the 1st of March.
Lovely.
Okay.
They couldn't do it before, the weather just hasn't been up.
The weather's been delightful. Even for England.
It's typical.
then to item 5, PCO and policing. We have the report, which is quite comprehensive.
Interesting.
A little worrying, but
That was last month.
That was, well, actually, it's October's report, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
So the
October.
report for October,
Yeah.
it finishes on the very 1st of November, so there should be a November and a December.
Well, there's been no further report.
no.
I think no further incidents, I was going to say, well done.
Right, B, district and county councillors, that obviously doesn't apply unless we've received anything from.
No.
There was something I saw from Councillor Rose this afternoon.
About some money that's available from KCC.
People
Yes.
in distressed circumstances,
Yes, you
right.
can apply for it, yes.
Yes.
But
It's on the KCC,
yeah,
KCC website. I think there probably is a link on DGC, but it's definitely on KCC.
okay. Parish councillors, Pauline, would you
No,
like
I
to?
haven't got anything.
Christiane,
I haven't got anything either.
Chris?
Just a repeat of my comments previously. Again, what with all the leaves being autumn, etc., and this heavy rain, I don't say no more, that we've all seen flooding and certain roads, and the drainage is just not coping with it. Partly because of, again, drains haven't been cleared.
I think this is a general.
Yeah, I came down here earlier on today, and there was a big flood just on the corner there. It was
That's
running
always-
down the road.
That's always been there.
There's no
it was
drain,
as
is
bad as
there?
ever.
There's no drain.
That's right. But looking at the news this evening,
Oh,
I
some
think we've
places
gone
do.
off quite lightly around here.
Yes.
There was an interesting comment in today's Times saying that developers in the future should probably allow for this sort of thing, perhaps put building in perhaps ponds and things like that.
Yeah,
and
we should be
drain.
tanking the water.
Yeah,
We should
exactly.
keep it out of the system.
And of course they complain that all that's, a profit.
Exactly.
You can't have it always.
But local authorities have been tasked to do that for years, but they don't normally sort of, they wouldn't normally sort of stop a development going ahead, but as to sort of preventative measures.
But as we seem to be getting more extreme weather, and they need to do something about it.
Okay, thank you.
Other than the phone box, which I've already mentioned, I repeat my worry about what's happening about the 20-mile limit in road. Have we got the news?
It's underway.
I asked for an update last week and I haven't had any response.
All right.
But it is in the system now.
Yes, yes.
It's going through.
Please let me know when you do have an upset. I have several near neighbours who are getting worried about it and would like to know what's happening.
Yeah,
Well, I think you can let them know that we obviously have the okay from high
Yeah,
roads.
they know that.
They've approved, yes. And
yeah.
it's how quickly government moves.
But it
It's
is
not very
in,
quick.
it is in the system. It is rolling.
Yeah, it's a good 6 months.
No, Lizzie's gun only got wiped out last week by somebody barrelling down at great speed. It is a worry.
Councillor Liz?
Fine. Coming out
Yes,
of our
yes.
drive, we nearly got
Oh, right.
taken out by somebody coming down at about 60.
Thank you.
Yeah, I finally have had, I don't want to mesh this in with the report on the Dow, but I have finally had a response to my freedom of information request from Affinity Water, who have given me the annual average for the amount of water they're taking out of the river. And if I may just spend a couple of minutes to tell you what that is. At the moment, they're extracting on an average day 30 million litres of water. Now, that's a very nebulous figure. The way I would put that is that if you filled 12 Olympic swimming pools, that would be roughly that level. After 5 days of doing that, you would in fact have used as much water, which is 163 metres cubed, that annually a typical household would use in the UK. But the key question is not so much about trying to get your head around that number, but whether this actually represents sustainable extraction from the river. Now, unfortunately, there are some good points. I'll just mention here before I mention a reference to other streams in the area. Affinity Water do have the ability to apply for drought permits during periods of very low high heat and high demand. Unfortunately, they never have actually applied for one or implemented one for the Dow or other streams here under their protection. What is optimistic is they are currently working with the Environment Agency on a habitat and restoration project as a viability study on the Dow. And once this work has been completed, they will engage with landowners and riparian owners to see what viable projects are going to be available. So I will monitor the progress of that. The one thing I'm not allowed to access as a third party is really the extraction or abstraction levels from other rivers. Although I have a very good friend at South East Rivers Trust who's given me some indication of what's happening on the River Darren and the River Cray, and they're in a much worse situation than we are. I was saying we're taking out 30 million litres a day out of the Dow. They're taking out 44 out of the Darren every day, which is almost a third daily volume higher, and the Cray's in an even worse situation. The other thing is that during periods of low flow, and they haven't defined exactly what that criteria is, they actually reduce that 30 million litres a day by around 7%. It's modest, but it's something. So my overall feel from the data that I can access is that we are less beleaguered than we might believe. And I think what is relevant at the moment, that to anyone that walks past the river at the moment, would be double the average rainfall we had in November. The aquifers are being recharged, the levels come up, and I monitor that regularly, and it's over twice as high as a low point I registered in October. And that was after 3 months of the driest weather we've had. And in fact, in August, the Dover chalklands were the third and fourth driest areas in the country. Now, if we continue to have this level of rainfall that we're all complaining about at the moment, and it goes into spring, I'm pretty optimistic that the flow levels will be much better next summer.
Sure.
I will distribute this if anybody wants to look at more detail rather than take up lots of time, which gives the detail on the other rivers, basically, the Darren and the Cray. Okay, I'll swan over, yeah.
I was encouraged as a total layman that as the thing flows past my back garden.
Yeah.
I was encouraged to see a rise in rain level yesterday, which dropped today again.
Yeah, well, if any of you want to watch paint dry, I've actually indicated river level zone on there, and they give live data on the level, you see. I was looking at it the other day, and my friend came around trying to drag me to the Royal Oak. He said, "What are you looking at, Mike?" He said, "Well, that's like watching paint dry." And I said to him, "It's actually not like watching paint dry. It's like watching someone else watch paint dry." But anyway, that's the summary on that.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Well, I can quite easily and unofficially put a measure of the water at certain levels if you're interested.
Yeah, we should put there's no markers in it anywhere, except for the flow.
Oh, I have a marker, and I have a riverside location, so I can take some levels for you if you wish.
Yeah, thank
But if anybody needs convincing, they've only got to really look at Russell Gardens, because not long ago Russell Gardens was completely dry and also bushy rough above it. Now they're right up the top. Okay, thank you, Michael. Nick?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Item 6, do we have any questions from...
No questions.
Right.
None at all, no requests or anything, no?
Planning matters, Pauline?
Well, not any for this week. We had our planning meeting,
Yes.
which we've got the minutes for. All of them have been granted that we looked at, apart from the one in Deanwood Road. It's still awaiting decision.
Yes, and also I noticed that during our absence, the fence up in Coxwell Gardens was refused.
It was refused, yes. I don't know if they're going to appeal or not. I haven't heard.
No.
But they might do.
I was...
I think it's the height. It could be the height, or it could be what it's made up of. There's other fences around, very similar design, same structure, but there's
Well,
About a
it's
foot
1
lower.
metre.
Yes, it's a little
facing
bit
the
lower.
highway.
So they might make them take the top. They could take the top off,
Yeah,
take it down.
okay.
They wouldn't alter it anyway. That got obviously the pub has had it. That's what his planning permission
Yeah.
is in. It's just been decided, I believe.
But
the
this
6
is
flats.
the Rower Bell.
Lower Bell, yeah.
They're working up there.
Yeah, it got
Today.
passed, yeah, for
Yes,
6
but they're
flats
working today.
in the
as-
pub, yeah.
Things have really started.
Actually in the existing building.
Yes, they're going to convert it, same as they did to
Yeah.
the
Well,
one
the
here
work-
in Dublin.
The work I noticed this morning driving by was in the garden beside it.
Yeah.
They're really getting on.
Oh.
I mean, this doesn't directly concern us
No, it doesn't, no.
because it's adjacent.
And we've got the crossing in, which was part
Yeah.
of the original, yeah. The crossing in. Works quite well.
7B, Andy, any decisions?
Yes, 74 Minutes Lane, garage conversion to habitable accommodation, that's granted. 28 River Street, erection of first floor extension and conversion of garage, that's granted.
What was that number, that one, 30?
0143.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go out and check this. It's being run from Spain by my
Okay.
son. Obviously, there's something in it.
No, the number in
Minutes Lane,
no,
River
that's
Street?
74 yeah, River Street.
28.
28 River Street.
And the other one then is Waterfall Cottage, Orkham Road, which is one that we took at the last meeting.
Yeah,
That's been granted as well.
Yeah.
And so they've all been approved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
It's not on that one yet.
Financial matters. Andy.
You should have in front of you somewhere a copy of the
November.
December ones. So November costs, standard groundworks, cleaning, electrical supply, the repairs that we had, some of the repairs that we had done to the play area, refuse collection. Parish account was just handyman costs. And then December, the community Christmas tree, groundworks, again works by Safe Play, inspection of the play area, repair work, electrical supply and refuse.
Sorry, all sorted.
And parish subscription to the Kent County Playing Field Association, that's what that is. Materials and bank charges. And then you have got a reconciliation, which I think is £9 out,
Oh,
which
it's
is
getting better.
getting better.
That's a 10p.
And I haven't included the bank statements, but I can email digital copies of them to you so you can verify the balances. We should have some progress on our closure of accounts by the end of the week. The reserve accounts at HSBC should be shut down by the end of this week.
Finally. We're pushing that hard.
I wouldn't mind a pound for every document that Andy's asked me to sign in that connection. The closing down of the HSBC account.
And then next, are you happy to move on to the next item?
So,
Recommendations, isn't it?
this one?
Yeah, the
Precept.
looking at the precepts, yeah. So I haven't got copies for everyone. For some reason I didn't do a copy for everyone.
Well, let's just get these approved. November and December.
Oh, approved, yeah.
And second, yeah.
Seconder
Yes.
and all approved? Thank you. So going on then to 8B, the precept
two basic, I think as I explained in the email that I sent to you, but I looked at two options, bearing in mind we have a substantial reserve, which we're waiting to see whether we spend it on the renovating the change unit or not. It doesn't make too much sense to increase the precept, so the two options that I've looked at there are either maintaining the existing budget, which would mean a 14 pence increase in council tax, or maintaining the level of council tax, which would just mean a slight decrease, I think £250 or so in the budget itself. I've moved a few things around. Obviously, the amounts that we set out for our budget are not ring-fenced in any way. We can move them around. All the separation of items is just based on what we think we're going to be spending on each item. I'll put in an additional amount of money for a contested election in case we have one this year, and shifted a couple of other things around as well, but not very greatly. So it's basically, if you wish any other information beyond what I've provided there.
Any views on this? Comments?
I would prefer A, keep it as it is at the moment. I mean, 14 pence, I know, it's not much, but with the way costs are going these days.
14 pence is 14 pence.
pence.
No, and I said exactly the same.
Let's go against the trend.
Yeah, if you reduce it and things suddenly started going, that is very hard to get back to the same level you are now. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Right. It's always dangerous to fall behind, because when the day comes when you have to catch up, you'll find it more difficult. As we're talking about a very modest sum, I recommend adopting it.
My feeling is a gain and a loss is so minimal that keeping the status quo could give us much more other benefits in terms of spinning it, that we're not increasing council tax. And I think that given that, let's say our public image is pretty neutral, it's certainly not negative, that, a bit of good news through the various social media we use, that we're not doing anything, it's staying the same, I think is more beneficial than gaining a small amount of money. But that's an ad man's view rather than a finance man, really.
Yes, I think so.
What I would add is, I do remember a few years ago we had reduced, and Rob Nicholas was then on the council and came in and said, look, exactly what Mike just said, you make it hard to get back. But I just think at the moment, to suggest any increase with what's going on would be, well, unnecessary, and could put strain on people who are really struggling. So I certainly would accept that we remain as is. Yes, even though it's a slight £209 less. I know if you put inflation on, inflation's a massive figure. You can't increase. So I would certainly agree. I think with everyone has said something, that we remain as is.
Yes, I think it should be maintained. Right, a proposal for that? Seconded? Yeah. All in favour?
Yeah, I'll vote with it. Yeah. It's minimal.
Thank you. So, that takes care of 8B then, doesn't it? So, recreation ground matters.
Right, quite a few. Firstly, the tarmac pathing, similar to the phone box, the weather is completely against us at the moment. So that's in hand, the contractors are organised, but that will be sometime in, I think, the very near future, but we need to see. Yes, okay. The cottages proceeding, we have had a few, well, we've had from one person complaints and moans about it. He's a new resident to the flats, didn't see the planning application, which has gone through and been granted, and apparently the other flat owners now saying, well, we don't think we saw it. The situation is I've asked John Hill to try to placate them. He's explained to them exactly what he's doing. He's explained that he has planning permission, or we have planning permission, and he is obviously proceeding on that basis. He's held up slightly, again partly because of the weather, but he's going to send plans into DDC. They needed to know the exact engineering state or of the windows. So he's got to show them exactly what windows are going to go in now that he's decided his design, for them to accept that. But he will also be looking at, and I think it's a shared walled, or a shared, not wall, well, he needs to do work on
Their space.
and from their space, and apparently he
Partition wall
explained,
agreement.
yes, so, that even if they say you can't do it, it's unreasonable, and they will be told you have to let him have access to build. But he's going to send that note round too, and he asked me, should it be to the one person who has been quite vocal, or should it be to all of those flat residents? And I said to Andrew, I think it depends on the bit of grass that we're going to put it on, and it is not in the car park, it's in their bit, but I just said to him, well, I will let everyone know tonight that you will need to do that, and as he said, if they say, oh, you can't do it, then they will be told you're being unreasonable, and they have to allow them access. It's like if you're a house owner and you've got a real problem, your neighbour can't say your builder can't put a ladder up. Apparently it's so. But I say, unfortunately, right at the last minute, we've got some objections. People saying we didn't know there were going to be windows, didn't know there was going to be an extractor fan. The plans were there, they were passed.
Planning permission was on the lamppost outside the flats.
Yeah, but anyway, just so you know that I've asked John to try to play it down. Andrew's taken 1 or 2 calls from the gentleman concerned in the flats, and I've just said I would make everyone aware, but we have planning permission. John has taken it on the basis of planning permission, and he certainly needs A, to have an extractor fan, and B, to have windows or a window at the back. But you just need to know that there has been one of the residents there moaning about it, rightly or wrongly. He said he didn't see the planning application because he'd only just bought the flat.
Yeah.
I mean, if I remember correctly, John Hill actually came to us as River Parish Council with this proposal, and the proposal was that he would make himself responsible for the obtaining of building regulation approval and planning permission, and he instructed the agent to do this for John Hill. But the application, of course, had to go in the name of River Parish Council because we're the land owner. But it seems to me that John's got he's been told.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
That what he's doing is checked. It's been, the windows.
Oh, everything is, yes. It was part of the planning. He's got to, when he finally orders, if you like, the balcony, they want to see that as well.
Yeah.
It's because it's showing externally, it's not a listed building and such, so they want to be certain that what he puts in there is...
But my point is that, to all intents and purposes, he's making the application, isn't
Correct.
he?
Yes.
Although we are the owners, he's making the application.
I mean,
so.
The Over District Council would have, well, it's marked that bit of land was shared, is where it was. So they would have seen that when they had the application.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Are his windows that way going to be opaque or clear?
Parts I've asked, but what I've asked Andrew at the same time, because it has once again raised a question of the yard, the small yard. It's apparently partly owned by us,
Yes.
partly by them. And I said, I think we need to get that clearly defined so we know exactly what we can and cannot do. Because my suggestion is that we were looking to we'll sort that area out. It's a real mess. That possibly once John has finished the building, we, if you like, get that into a good state of repair, even if it's half airs and half hours, just as a gesture of goodwill towards the residents who have had some bit of inconvenience and not happy on the window. So I said to Andrew I would bring it up officially tonight. I want that we need to investigate, we need someone to investigate who owns which bit of that yard, how it's split, if it's split, and indeed...
Or it could be a right of access over.
Yes, yeah. Well, on the plan that he put in, he had actually drawn a red line, and it looks as if there was a lean-to on the back of there at some stage, and where the lean-to came to, there's a line drawn. And so whether that's our side there or ours, you know, I'm not certain, but I've just said that we need to get it sorted, and I'd like, with everyone's agreement, say, once we've got it resolved, once it's done, then we attack that small yard and get it sorted, because it really is a mess, it's a muddle.
It makes
And
sense.
Yes.
Yep.
Agreed.
But Andrew, can you check that, or
I
is...
will
I was looking
try
at
with
Pauline.
land registry.
Yeah, I didn't know, whether Pauline could help us on that one, but...
I can try and find out. I'll try and find out as
We,
well.
yeah, it's just that, no, I know, Andrew, I keep asking you, can you just, and...
Yeah.
Right, the meeting with Sport England and the Football Federation was a difficult meeting. They came down and they wanted to close out the grant that was given 21 or 22 years ago. And Pauline quite rightly said, we're 22 years on.
It's different.
It's absolutely crazy. The Football Federation, Jeff, is absolutely petrified that Rangers will pull out. He's doing everything he can to push for England. He spoke to us, if you like, one-to-one and said, look, she's got to be seen to be doing her job. She's going to be reporting to her bosses that this money that was spent 22 years ago, you've not really protected their investment. But he said, well, it's 20 years on, you can't expect changing rooms still to be in pristine condition. We deliberately held the meeting in the changing rooms, put a couple of heaters in there. It was quite cosy, but it was good that they saw firsthand exactly how derelict it's become.
And the pipework's gone because it
Correct,
had to.
correct. So it reinforced that. They're under no illusions or misunderstandings with regard to the office. They know we've given a lease. DDC know we've given a lease. David Beanie was there, extremely helpful, extremely good. But I think like we were, he left just before the end of the meeting, but a little bit frustrated because Liz said, leave it with me, I'll speak to my boss and I'll come back to you. And that's a month ago.
Yeah, and she hasn't sent the inspections I wanted either, has she?
No.
Because part of their agreement from 22 years ago was they had to, every so many years, inspect what was going on here and how the football was. They haven't done it.
They've never done it.
At
And
all.
Was there any schedule?
No, it just said with about
was 7
every 5
years.
years or
yes,
something.
there was, but they admitted that
hadn't
they
done it.
completely overlooked it. They'd given us no support at all because she was saying, well, I want you to draw up a plan for football, a plan for this. And we said, no, you know, we've reached an agreement, but it just needs you to confirm that we can alter the changing rooms. The office has gone, and I said, without cash coming in from that, we couldn't be so generous with the football. That's not quite right, but it is.
But the thing that hasn't been said, of course, is that this is preventing this objection
Oh, they know
that has been
that.
submitted
Yeah.
is preventing both of the planning
Yeah.
applications being approved.
She did
Oh,
acknowledge
she
that.
knows full well, and
Yeah.
David Beanie said, you need to remove your objections.
Yeah.
So yes, she knows exactly what she's got to do. Jeff from the Football Federation is saying she's just going through the motions, she's got to show, but he said, you never know sometimes with these organisations, because she was getting down to saying, well, I want to see the agreement you've got with Rangers, I want to be certain that they've got, and we said, look, we're happy, and Jeff was saying, leave it. The agreement we've entered into with them is perfect. Basically an open-ended agreement, as we have done with the Bowls Club, that it's theirs to use.
Yeah.
All the time they follow the conditions, it's theirs. Break those conditions,
On either
and
side,
we may
yeah.
terminate the agreement.
So the way I see things at the moment then is like this, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, Pauline. There's no danger that these planning applications will be determined against us. That won't happen. They won't.
They will only determine them for us if Sport England withdraw their objections.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
they don't withdraw their objections, we lose the
Yeah.
planning
So
applications.
the thing is, the ball's in
It's in Sport, and they know this.
Sport England.
Oh.
So
And they don't want to lose the football.
no, that's right.
No.
They're very pleased.
So that's right. So
What has anybody got to lose by obstructing this? It's gain by obstructing this, I ask myself.
We didn't speak to them and say, can we please
Because we didn't know
alter
about
the
it.
use? We want to change this into an office, and we want to change
Oh.
we didn't ask them, and therefore they're saying you didn't ask, and I said we've already admitted and said sorry that I, as one of the oldest serving members, or longest serving members together with Clive, had no idea that this was lurking in the background. It was 10 years, more likely, before I joined River Parish Council, and in those 10 years, apparently they did come down once, Andrew thinks, and that was not on the grant side, that was, I think, Football Federation or something, but...
yes, I mean, it's a reasonable point that had we been aware of this
We'd have asked them
interest,
we'd have asked them, yes.
what we could have done, of course, we could have let them have copies of the plans, our proposals, before we put the application in. We could have done that. But where we are at the moment, this meeting having taken place, it seems to me that we can do one of two things. We can send them a letter and say, what the hell's going on? Have you forgotten us? Or so, you know, I mean, if you can chase it up. Or we can sit tight on it.
Well,
I would be inclined to do the latter.
For the moment, yeah, because they wouldn't have worked over Christmas. So.
No.
Provided that, of course, and I think this is the case, there's no danger that Dover District Council will...
But they won't do
They
anything
won't.
until they're here.
They know the situation, they've agreed that they're there
Just
with
sit
us.
there, just sit
They've
on
said, we know you've got, we told them we've got a tenant in there, they know that, and they said, if this comes to a head, we'll be lenient, we'll be understanding, but my suggestion, and I agree, Mr Chairman, that we at the moment leave it in abeyance, but I would say we leave it in abeyance until our next meeting.
Yes.
If we've not heard then,
Then we do something.
what I did, because Liz, I find her very difficult to deal with.
It's very black and white.
Yes, and I asked Pauline to chair the last meeting, and I would suggest that if we do go back to them,
Yeah.
you do it,
Yeah.
Pauline. Mr Chairman, with your agreement, it just, to me, I think we stand more chance. I think we stand more chance of Pauline getting some sense out of her
Well,
than
She wasn't against us. She was certainly more conciliatory than she was on our
She-
Zoom
exactly,
call that we
yes.
had.
Well, let's wait until the next meeting. We'll discuss this
Yeah.
again at the February meeting, and we'll decide on a course of action, if any, at that meeting.
right.
Great.
The play area, we've just just agreed, we haven't got signs next to the gym equipment, which we should have, warning people to use it but not to exert themselves. Our Emma from, what's the company? Andrew? Safe Play has said, look, you should have these signs. So they are actually going to erect for us a number of signs, one in the play area to say that adults should supervise their children whilst using, they've got to make certain that the equipment their children use is safe for them. So really trying to cover our backs if somebody hurts themselves.
Yeah.
But we are, with them going right through everything, making certain that whatever we do there is squeaky clean and correct. So there will be some new signs going up. I hadn't thought about the gym, but yes, normal thing. Just be careful using this. Don't strain yourself.
Put a pointer to the defibrillator as well.
Yes. Yeah.
If things go wrong,
Through there, yes.
defib on that wall.
Yeah. So there's a number of things happening. But I say, unfortunately, the one that does worry me is his cottage, but I'm certain we can sort the cottage out.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's it on the recreation ground.
Okay. Any questions?
No, except for the political correctness gone mad. In my day, if a playground was on a concrete base, you know, no, it's silly, but if you've got to do it, we've got to do it.
Okay. So we'll revisit the question of the objection from Sport England at the next meeting.
Sorry, I should have added, Mr. Chairman, that Rangers, Steve Mark is well aware of exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Football Federation have been speaking to him, and I once again confirm that they will not move their container until, well, more likely springtime now, because they would ruin it. Yes, I hadn't mentioned that.
Too soggy.
Yep, yes, that's it, sorry. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chairman. Item 10.
Okay. A quick précis of the meeting I had with Whitecliffs. It was attended by Richard Haynes and their ranger Miranda Jackson. But more significantly, the scientific officer of the South East Rivers Trust drove all the way from Basingstoke and back to come and join us, and he's been a very valuable ally. And we went over all of our stretch, and I would say in general it got a pretty good health check. There are the major issues where we could see habitat improvement is clearly on two aspects. One, we have a very fragmented river, when the whole concept of rivers is connectivity. The problem we have, if you take it downstream and let's say on Cravel Road where the end of the Mill Race flats are, got a weir there, you come up to the mill, you've got another block there. Then if you go up the side street, you've got a spill weir. You then come through the back of the village and you get to the major old weir in Kersley. So the current trend in river management is to get this connectivity because it joins the whole thing up. And suddenly the ecology changes because there's great fish migration and everything. And as an example, outside of Morrison's supermarket, there's a little weir, Affinity Water are putting a fish pass in there to allow that migration to come up from further downstream. However, the infrastructure to do any fish passes with us is an enormous amount of work. One area which is very tempting but would take considerable funding is to narrow the channel in front of the mill where it's heavily silted. That channel needs to be dug out, desilted, and then the channel narrowed to keep the flow up, to keep the silt away. But that's major infrastructure. However, we discussed the issue about the disappearance of the weed, and none of the experts could put their finger on where it's all gone, but it is very, very unusual. There was a suggestion there may have been some sort of herbicide or pesticide got in the river somewhere, but then the argument would be that it would have affected downstream, and Whitecliffs are telling me that there's a hugely lush amount of ranunculus weed all the way through that stretch that they're looking after. So what they've come up together is a suggestion that we try and do what they call a translocation, a transference of weed from the lower stretch up into our stretch to recolonise it. And they have put together a proposal with me on that, which I'd just like to take you through if I may. The main interest is the last page, but I'll just distribute these to you. What they're really saying is that we should extract the weed lower down in Dover with White Cliffs and their workforce, and then bring it up to Crabble Mill to distribute in areas where it has the best chance of survival, and that will be done in weighted baskets, clearly not plastic because that's not the way to go, some form of metal basket. So that's a proposal. The Environment Agency don't have a problem with it because there's no bio-risk, because the weed's being transferred in the same river. But I think the key element for us to look at, and I need to discuss with you, is whether there will be any costs involved, because Richard Haynes, who's the project manager or partnership manager, hasn't come to me about costing, but things that could cost, for example, is transporting the weed in the baskets from the Dover stretch to here. And obviously there's going to have to be some form of weighted basket or cage to put them in, because otherwise they won't root and they'll just disappear in the flow. And then I was suggesting that we would need to have recruitment of a small workforce to help with the work and maintain it here, and there would be a small marketing cost there if we went that route, where I was suggesting that we distributed a rough draft insert on the back here with the Rival magazine in the March issue to do that recruitment drive. And this is not obviously the final thing, it's just a draft explaining why the weed's so important to the river, why we should look at trying to re-establish it through the stretch, and whether individuals would join the White Cliffs volunteers to help this happen. So it's, I think it's generating an interest in the village for the river and making people less passive about it. But as I say, at this stage, I wasn't able to press Richard Haynes for if White Cliffs are going to incur any costs, and nor do I know what the protocol is there in terms of exchange of working together and finances.
Well, if we are possibly being looked at for some sort of financial support, we would need to consider that.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And approve it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we don't want to be told. We
No.
can't be told.
No, absolutely, yeah. But as far as I've got with that, and it's certainly I haven't been told there are any costs, but that's only from the more junior member of the partnership. So I'm not saying there wouldn't be costs, and it would have been very nice if I'd had something more definitive for this meeting, but I haven't at this stage.
Would we, sorry, just one point, with the rival, would we, if we got something, surely we wouldn't have to pay for that, would we?
It's a printing cost.
No.
It's
The
a printing
rival.
cost.
What's an arrival?
It's an arrival.
If it goes in the rival,
No. What I'm saying is, rather than me, I have a page in there every issue called Nature Watch, which I write. I could devote that to this project, but what I was thinking was, in terms of a recruitment drive to get people, because we can't do this without boots on the ground. I mean, I can't do it on my own with a few volunteers from White Cliffs.
Is that not something the scouts could help, the older scouts? I mean, I don't mean the beavers and the little ones,
The older
I mean
ones.
the
The teenagers.
provided that there's supervision there
yeah.
and proper sort of
Health and safety.
I mean,
emergency.
they usually approach me and say they want to do something local
Yeah.
and for the village.
Well, I haven't excluded the Scouts or the River Gardeners Association. I mean, they shouldn't mind giving their boots where should they?
I think rather than sort of your article in there, which is a regular one, and then something else, which could be sort of separated, as they often are, because the advertising seems to be the criteria in the rival more than anything else, and sort of spacing things around the advertising. May I suggest that what you do is that you basically sort of draw a line
Yeah.
under this, and then sort of draw attention to,
Yeah, I'm
this.
quite happy to devote the whole page to it. The only temptation I had for doing an insert was you get the colour aspect to it, which you can't have in Raval, which just makes it a little more persuasive. But it's a small point.
It can be done,
Yeah.
but we have persuaded them in the past to do that. But what I was really thinking about was the business about sort of wanting some help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that to make it stand out, I would suggest that it's a separate part of your
Yes. Yeah.
part of it. Because as I say, if it was separated altogether, it's going to be perhaps 2 pages on with a lot of advertising in between, and it wouldn't, people wouldn't connect it.
Okay, sneeze attacks.
Could you do
I
it?
ask, what is the purpose of it? Because I live next to the river, obviously, and the only time people set foot in my state of river is to remove weed.
Yeah, well, this is one of the big issues with the Environment Agency. It's all or nothing, generally, their policy. But, the thing is that all the invertebrates live in that weed. It's an essential aspect of having a healthy stream. And what I would point out that the research that's been done on this was done on the downs in the Cray, and the recommendation for doing this was not my own. It came from the scientific officer from that area.
Sure.
So it has been done before. I can never guarantee the success of such a horticultural process, but I mean it's something we may want to think about.
Yeah.
I'm obviously conscious about that. I'm trying to get everything for nothing. That's my tactic. I mean, I don't want to spend money on this, frankly, if I can help it. I don't want to, no.
Christiane?
Well, I've been thinking over Christmas what we could do for the coronation, and as you and new king, it's not mine, is very interested in the environment. I had the idea that we do a project to do with the environment. Ideally, I thought of something to do what the children could do, like a butterfly garden or something down in the rec or anywhere in the village. But it could be something like that as well. I wondered if there would be then funding for that. If we have a community project for the coronation to do with them. I know he said he didn't want a big fuss.
And that would be, would it?
I just let that sit now till Friday. We can just talk about it then. Maybe I'll just look at it if there would be funding for a project like that then.
The other aspect on funding is I'm having a meeting with the East Kent Partnership on 17th of January in Ashford, and our EA contact will be there. I might well bend her ear to see if they would look at funding this relocation as well. I haven't given up on that either.
But what you were talking about, Christiane, was the perhaps something for people to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought what makes him tick, and that's the environment. So it would be nice if we would do something for that instead of doing another big celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, still do something like a picnic or something.
I mean, Andrew will bear me out on this. You know, in the sort of late 1980s, once the Craddock Mill Trust had been established, this group, which is still just about sort of going, isn't it, as the Friends of Craddock Mill came into existence, and it was for a long time. It was very, very successful. It used to sort of attract people to come in and sort of do things, you know, alongside the building work. It's possible that something like that could be organised again. But I think for the moment, Michael has got this other meeting that he's referring to.
We had a few people approach us about the Dower in the past.
Yeah.
There was this lady who bought one of the flats there, and we always got told we can't just jump in there and
No, that's
do
right.
something.
No,
So it
you
frustrates
certainly
people.
And in certain bits of it, which brings us back to the river, everybody along my stretch has riparian rights. Now, how does this sit with all this?
Well, this is something that needs to be discussed with the Environment Agency, but I would imagine that riparian owners would perhaps need to be consulted. I'll have to find this
But
out.
more than sold, I think.
Yeah, but I think that it's not as if we're doing major infrastructure. It's simply, you know, planting weeds in the river. But as I say, I would need to take advice on that from the Environment Agency.
Because some of us do like our nice clear river with fish swimming down it and everything else. I mean, I don't really particularly want it plugged up with weeds.
There's still
Well,
swimming now.
there is a balance. We have absolutely no weed, and for any chalk stream...
Well, we have a few weeds.
Well, we have the wrong type of weed in there at the moment, the stuff that's growing on the silt.
The large, I was going to say that the river appears to be covered in the bed in silt, and you can
Yes.
see the last year it's really
Yeah, with the low
increased.
flow, it's not
Yes.
being flushed.
Yeah.
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 But anyway, it's just obviously a proposal for everyone to
Yeah.
think about, and
Yeah.
Well,
whether it's got any legs, I don't know.
I think you've referred to another meeting in the meantime. Christiane, you could give some thought to perhaps getting something for young people to do.
Well, King Charles has been known for his
Environment.
environmental care, so we could call it
Yeah, I think
celebration of his
Yeah.
No, so
coronation.
I think there's some synergy there, definitely.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
environment.
Well, let's put this.
No, he is actually, for where it is, yeah.
Can I suggest then that what we do, we put this on the agenda for the next meeting
Meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
and just build it up.
Yeah, okay, excellent, thank you.
Good.
I would like some reassurance. I think it's a wonderful idea if the bad weeds are taken out and good weeds are put in, but I wouldn't want more weeds in there than there at the minute, and I'm sure I'm not there.
That comes down to the remit of the Environment Agency.
Yes.
None of us have any real power of that.
I think you are working with the right people.
Yeah.
And I mean, people with riparian rights, you know, that has to be respected, of course.
Yes.
But usually the trouble is it's when people start chucking bikes into the river and all that sort
I
of
must
stuff.
say, when we were wandering along the river, and we were in the river at various points where we were not challenged once by anybody.
No.
No,
So
no.
let's do
Well, I
it.
knew you were coming anyway. But I do challenge other people because we have got essentially a private river because it's riparian rights on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is different from some areas where the parts of the river are public,
Yeah.
which ours is not. People are not allowed to canoe down our river, they're not allowed to walk down it, they're not allowed to do anything else. If they've got a good reason, we welcome them heartily. And
You never know, you might see me in a canoe going down there dragging pots of weed behind me. I was actually, when I came up to talk to my friends about this idea at South East British Council, they said, well look Mike, you're going to end up like Captain Bligh, who's transporting breadfruit from Tahiti to the West Indies. So,
Okay, well we'll return to this again at the February
Yeah,
meeting.
February meeting, yeah.
okay.
Let's go on to item 11. This is to consider nominations for the KALC Community Award. You will remember this is something that parish councils are encouraged to support and make an award to somebody in their village who's done something worthy of note. And we have made some good awards over the last few years. The most recent one, which I had the pleasure of presenting to her, was to Vicky Thomas for the work with the slabs, which I presented to the award to her at the fete last year. So, has anybody got any thoughts about?
Well, Andrew, you've got a very good suggestion.
Well, I've actually I received an email yesterday from a member of the public, from Mrs. Betts,
Oh yes,
who'd
well,
seen
she's one of the recipients.
Yes.
Of course.
who'd seen this item on our agenda, and she actually has nominated someone herself. She's suggested that David D. Horrobin would be worthy recipients. Council members for many years. At that time, they organised and ran the village fete. Also arranged working parties, kept the flower beds around the village. Dee has also helped run brownies in the village as well.
Yeah.
So that was a
Good idea,
suggestion.
yeah.
That is a
I
good
think that's
suggestion.
a really good suggestion,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they work tirelessly while they were members of the council, and they still assist.
Yeah,
They still do.
They're still amazing.
Yeah.
With Dave, not
they still do
Yeah.
a little bit for us with the planting, don't they?
Mm.
Well, I'll tell you what we do. When, is there a closing date?
I think the closing date is February, Tuesday, 28th of February.
Right, so we've still got time.
So the
Can I
next
suggest that what we do, we'll consider this nomination, okay? And we'll keep it on the February agenda for confirmation, in case anybody else thinks of some others.
Could somebody put together a sort of 10-liner telling us who probably don't know these people what they do?
Sorry,
David, yeah, I could do that.
Well, just a few liner, just so one has a means of
Yeah.
comparison between the merits of various people.
no, they were both members of the Parish Council for many years. In fact, if my memory serves, it's before my time, but I believe they joined, if they could both join. I think that was the story that I got.
But
Somebody
no,
else
but
would-
you and I both served them for many
Yeah.
years. Yes,
Yeah.
they were amazing parish councillors, and they still do a
Well,
lot
they
in
did
the
the
village.
fete quite a bit,
Yes.
didn't they?
Oh, they used to all, they ran the fete, you know, they really did.
Well, Beryl,
Beryl, I got to
And
say, so that's
Beryl,
that good
Sergeant
Beryl.
Major Beryl.
Yes.
Great.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't really think we need to think about this, but yeah, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll confirm it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just-
The closing date's the end of Feb, so I mean,
Yeah,
We've got time to
Well,
do
you
it.
have to always push it to the...
okay,
Yep.
fine. Right, 12, to receive any general correspondence, DDC Town and Parish Council meeting, 1602.
Yes, this is the date for the next meeting. They hold these once or twice a year, meetings between the DDC and also parish councils. It's a way of passing on information between the organisations. Next date will be Thursday, 16th of February at 6 p.m. We're invited to send 2 representatives. Meeting is primarily intended to be an in-person meeting, but there will be an option for those who can't make it in person to join remotely via Teams.
So that's A, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't have an agenda
Vanilla.
as yet, but well, it'll be at that council office,
Oh, right.
DDC,
Oh, I see.
At DDC.
any idea what time it's like?
6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
6 o'clock.
Evening,
I always do 6 o'clock.
So,
Anybody interested in this? Would you like to go on,
yeah,
Chris?
yeah, when something similar a few years ago, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the next one, B, now this is one of their KLC's general for new councillors, isn't it?
yes, they're organised 3 of these free 1-hour events. The first one being on Tuesday, 17th of January. I don't know where it's going to be held, but they're organising these to help people who wish to become local councillors find out something about the role. So if you know of anyone who's interested, I can pass on details to them. And,
I wished.
I don't know if there's any remote option. I'll have to ask them about that. But
Okay.
let me know if you know of anyone who's interested.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there
Any points?
any update on the first aid course that I mentioned?
Yeah, I have got one place that does them, but only one. Are we looking for somebody to attend or run courses ourselves somewhere?
I want to just attend, so we have a first aider in the
Yeah.
mix here.
KALC, have got some courses. I'll send you
Yeah.
details of them.
Because I think after I struggled so much last time to get and first aider for the event. I would feel better if we would have one just amongst us.
Okay.
I know it's not enough if I have 500 people event again.
No.
I'll send you details.
We always used to get St John's ambulance there. didn't
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
because we
I
moved
think
it
that's
forward, it
yes.
was a bit tricky
Yeah.
and I
That-
only had.
was always as a result of Brian Cuff,
we?
wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. 13A, Events Committee meeting January.
This
Just to confirm that we've got a date, Friday the 13th at 2 p.m. here
Oh,
Typical.
started.
For an events meeting.
When is that, Andy?
This Friday.
The Sky
Very
Friday.
close, yes.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
And here,
Yeah, and here.
Yeah.
Okay, coffee as well.
yes,
Come early enough.
What time again was that?
2 p.m. not a.m.
That's the 13th. Okay.
Go to the surgery in the morning, late morning, so.
I don't like this until
To 2 o'clock.
I won't be able to attend that because I'll be in London that day for the weekend, so my apologies for that.
Okay.
So
So-
my
It's
medical
here,
appointments in the afternoon, so I'm.
It's sure, I take it, yeah.
And so, moving on to 13B, AGM date.
Yeah, this is looking at the dates of meetings for this year. The AGM, is normally, as we know, the second Tuesday of the month. Now, in May this year, obviously we have the coronation at the same time, and the problem is that there's also an extra bank holiday, which is Monday the
Eight.
the 8th. So the agenda would have to be issued on Wednesday the 3rd. The elections are then only on the 4th. Normally speaking, councillors would take office on the 8th, but they wouldn't because it's a bank holiday, so it would have to be 9th at the earliest. But there's a potential problem that we might not know who all the councillors are before
You might
the
not. You
meeting.
probably won't.
So
You might, but
I've got some alternative dates from the Methodist Church when we could have the meeting later on in the month. In that same week, Thursday the 11th. Next week, Monday the 15th. Thursday the 18th. Or then the following week, Monday the 22nd or Wednesday the 24th.
None of them have clashed with anything of mine.
no, I haven't got anything in that at the moment.
I would have thought that what was the first one again, Andy?
First one was Thursday the 11th, but that is in the same week, so
Yeah.
we would be better off being in the
I can't-
following
We should have been
week.
informed by then.
We should have been, yeah.
I can't do that. That's fine.
We should have been informed. And if we do the 15th,
Actually, that would still mean, hang on, that's, if it were Wednesday after 1, 2,
it wouldn't give you much time for the 11th, would
3,
it?
it would still, I'd still have to send out the agenda on the 5th,
Right.
so I'd be better off really.
What about the week commencing
About the
15th? The 18th?
Either the 15th or the 18th.
18th,
Yes.
I like the 18th.
Let's go for that one.
The 18th.
18th.
Okay.
And this is usually 7:30, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
7:30. 18 May.
Yes, it gives you a problem, doesn't it?
Right, so that's, do we have to notify anybody about that?
Well, I will tell the Methodist Church that's the day
And
you
also our guru at Whitfield.
No, they don't need to know.
No?
No.
All right. If you say so.
Well, they don't know the dates of our meeting.
No, that's true. Okay, 8 p.m. Now, dare I sort of raise this, but God, last year, I mean, I think think, noticed a falling of the attendance from local residents over the last few years, culminating in last year when there were 0 local residents. Once upon a time, we used to have invite a speaker along, but heaven forbid, I'm in the embarrassment of last year if we'd have invited a speaker along and there were no local residents whatsoever. So again, what I would like to ask is that we bring this item forward again to the next meeting and ask you all to consider a likely speaker, if any.
Okay.
And what sort of topics would you?
Well, we've had numerous people. I thought one of the most interesting ones was that AJ Kuchelski
Yes.
that we had. He's the chap who's in charge of rats and mice and sort of all sorts of...
He does the rubbish.
Yes.
AJ.
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 Yes.
Yeah, he
AJ.
does all the,
Yeah, he's very good.
Yes.
brilliant.
Could be anyway, but it wants to be something that we could perhaps advertise and hopefully
When's the next
Interest.
magazine?
Is this for the AGM?
For the AGM, yes.
interest some of our local residents.
So when's the next magazine? February, isn't it?
March issue,
March.
yes, yeah.
So it's got to be in sometime in Feb. When's it got to be in?
I think
Month
the
before, I think.
1st of February is the copy date for March, I think.
Yeah.
We can remind them about the AGM, can't we?
Oh yes.
We
Yes.
usually do,
most
don't
certainly. That would be quite interesting. Okay. So that's speaker.
Got a speaker on the river tower section.
Well, and I think that's probably done that to death by now.
Well,
No,
not,
but,
not,
I mean,
not the visitors. I think they might find it.
No, I think if the idea that Christian had of maybe something on the Dower involving local people, it could then could be very interesting to have someone there to explain, talk through. I don't know. Just that's the sort of thing that.
A good option there would be someone from the Wild Trout Trust, WTT, but they unfortunately don't do it in a charitable sense. They ask for payment, unfortunately. But anyway, I'll give it some thought.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it just you need to throw it around and anything that we think is topical in the village.
Yes.
Heaven forbid, even if I say buses, and that's not because I've had emails from a certain person,
Okay.
but you know, we need something that could possibly bring people to the meeting.
Yeah.
On my best authority, we have absolutely no hope for buses, even though it looks good if we keep trying
I've
to
said
do
no so many
something.
times.
There is no money available on that, is it?
No.
I've talked to a number of people at
Yes.
District Council and other places.
Right. Let's go to item 14 then. We'll start with you this time, Nick.
Yeah.
And that
Nothing,
one.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
No.
Mike.
No.
Patrick.
Covered it all.
Stella.
Just to say how lovely bike riders are back.
Sorry.
Are they?
They've been zooming past my house over the last couple of nights.
Your bats.
No.
No, the bike
I'm
riders.
totally
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought-
the bike
trying to
ride-
think,
ride-
zoom
The
in.
bike riders, the noisy ones.
Oh,
There's been
right.
a couple going past our
Ah.
place.
Because the petrol's cheaper.
Yeah, and they come down a hillside, you see, and then it's a lovely
Stop for
what's it to go, and there's been a few squeals of brakes.
Yes, that.
I have one bike.
They haven't done any damage, and
These are
It-
bikes as opposed to
the-
motorbikes. Oh.
No,
motorbikes.
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 whether you can't quite see whether they're legal or not.
Tax.
Thing.
No.
I don't
Number
think so.
plates.
You can't
That's
see
the
them.
thing I've always looked
You
for.
can't see a number plate on the back.
No.
No.
For some
if
folks
they-
it's horizontal, isn't it?
I
Yes.
get one noisy bike coming past my house at 7:10 every morning at a ridiculous speed who's going to cause a fatal accident one
He's
day.
obviously going to work.
Trouble is,
you know,
nothing would be done until that accident happened.
No.
Exactly.
Which is too late.
Mm. But I just thought I'd warn you in case they start riding round with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, well, thank you all very much for your attendance. I have great pleasure in closing this.
Well, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, I would say